Guys, welcome back to the third part of Confession from the Darkside presents When Movies Predict the Future. Today's beautiful topic is post-apocalyptic dystopian futures. Going through some of these lists, I was like, well, this is going to be a good one, guys.
Aren't they all, though? Each and every
They are.
one in their own way.
But today, as we normally do, start off with a disclaimer. This disclaimer is to protect us and to prepare you. So, as such, we are full of so much adult content. Some may think it is unnecessary. Some of you think that it isn't needed. If you are one of those people, then thanks for checking us out, but I will say this only once. If you can't stand the heat, then get the fuck out of my kitchen. Now, for everyone else who likes what we have here, then regular scheduled programming will continue. Shall we get started? Are we ready?
Of course we are.
All right. Darcy, how you been?
I could be better, but again, I'm breathing, I'm here, and, well, if you didn't realise that we seem to cheer each other up when we're having the shittiest of days. So you need to find yourself a loner. People, if you don't have one, go get one. So that's all I was like. So if we didn't have each other, we'd probably be like killing people or something now. So yes, I'm much happier that we're doing podcasts and we're talking and doing things that we love. How are you?
Good, I'm doing good. I just had a lovely, eventful weekend.
You see
The
that like
voice.
it was amazing.
Oh,
Eventful.
yes.
Oh, you
yes.
say it like you mean it.
But other than that, I'm doing good. Son's growing bigger every day. He's becoming more of a pain in the butt, but I love him to death. So, but other than that, guys, we just both finished our stories for the 13 Nights of Slaughter. We have discussed about those. They will be uploaded up until Christmas Eve.
Yep, they will.
That is something that we absolutely enjoyed. I wouldn't stretch it to say enjoy doing.
I enjoyed it. I had a sore throat through most of mine, and I still just plodded the fuck on and get it done.
Yes, it's it was enjoyable. I didn't really get to talk to you much about it. The Dead, which is the last story that I uploaded. After finishing reading it, there wasn't really much horror aspect to it, actually, but it was a very
They're more
good
lesson
story.
learned, I think. I think they're more of, there's like hidden meaning, or there's like, because back then when people were writing stories, it was more about learning a lesson or to warn people because of the world that they lived in. It's not like the world we live in today. So reading them, there was a lot of language and vernacular that I was not comfortable about saying, because I'm just like, I know that was socially acceptable then, but it's definitely not fucking socially acceptable now.
No,
So
and
I had to take out parts of the story because I didn't even feel comfortable saying certain words, how they were described for descriptions of
and
people. So
there's honestly a couple. I can't remember if it was The Dead or if it was one of my other stories. You'll end up probably hearing me curse a couple times under my breath because there was a sentence or two. I think it was The Dead that ended up using some very unacceptable language, especially for today's day and age. I think it was literally like 2 or 3 sentences that used it, and I kind of like, you'll probably hear under my breath when you listen to it, to edit it, you'll probably hear, well, I ain't fucking saying
I
that.
said it as well, and I paused for ages going, why am I pausing? No one's fucking listening to me right now. I'm by my fucking
Yeah,
self.
that's what I did too. I'm like,
Is this right? Should I really be doing this? What, I'm my fucking self. It doesn't matter if I fucking say it or not. What the fuck? Oh,
yeah,
so I'm
so
glad I'm
was
not
like,
the only person who's thinking that way.
yeah, well, I mean, out of all the stories, that was the only one that had it, and I'm just sitting there going like, well, I'm gonna fucking skip that. And I literally, because of how it was paired next to other words without the use of that, it still sounded perfectly fine. So I'm like, okay, this works. And I'm sitting there going, the only downside to it is because of reading it and because of how it was set up, you don't get the full picture of it because I did have to cut that word out. but at the same time, it is definitely to protect us as a podcast, as well as we don't need the backlash from any sort of community out there for one simple word that's in
A book that's over 100 years old.
yeah, in a book, because I've already said a couple things from other stories in there that are acceptable, but I think it's only acceptable in the way the terminology of it is used, and because of it being a book and the way the terminology is used for this word, it was acceptable. So it still made me uncomfortable saying it originally, but pretty much almost every book that I read had the terminology for it, and it still made me feel a little uncomfortable, but at the same time, I got used to it because it's the way that the word was used. But the other word for that was in the dead, yeah, nope, wasn't saying it, skipped right over it and said this can be used without it.
Exactly. So these I've already uploaded. By the time this goes out, because this is coming out just before Supernatural, they'll probably, most of them will be up and loaded and ready for everyone to listen to. And like we said, you can go onto Buzzsprout and any other. It will list when the link for Buzzsprout will show you, but it's available for you to listen to. Whether you don't have Spotify, maybe you have Amazon Music, or if you listen online or whatever, or you can just go straight to YouTube. These stories will be there, and they're going to be there forever on the internet for you to listen to whenever the fuck you want, and not on the run up to Christmas. So you can do whatever you want that way. But we have plenty of awesome things coming in the future, new series, so we can actually properly give the different types of genres and topics within horror itself, so they can get their justice. And with all the stuff that's coming out next year and possibly coming out and rumored to be coming out, we'll get so much content that even the content that we've already planned for will probably, if something happens or if like some news breaks, we'll always have like a wee space that we can put up a random video, or we can put up a random recording to actually say, like, we're dealing with it type of thing. So hopefully by next year, even though we are kind of organized anyway, but we'll be super organized now. So
Yeah.
look forward to
Yes.
2024. And we're not even finished 2023 yet, so still got lots of
Nope.
stuff there.
Still got loads of content to be released for 2023, but we are looking forward to 2024. Actually started this episode, I was scrolling through releases that are going to be coming out in 2024 for stuff that we may enjoy or will absolutely can't wait to rip the piss out of during podcasts. A lot of the stuff I think we might thoroughly enjoy, but there was quite a few in there that I had mentioned that is going to be like, all right, this is going to be well worth the watch to rip the piss out of, because there is a couple remakes coming out that, as you guys thoroughly know, we do not like remakes, prequels, sequels, stuff like that, because they're never usually better than the original, unless it's Terminator 2.
Yes, exactly. And we do go on tangents. Sorry about that.
But today's episode is post-apocalyptic dystopian futures. As you guys know, we started this series on November 5th, which was my birthday.
Yeah. So you have a good birthday.
Yep, it was part of a futuristic type of series that we decided we wanted to start, especially on my birthday. V for Vendetta was the perfect start for it. And honestly, we have loved doing these little mini series for the futures, for the dystopian futures, apocalyptic futures, tech futures, stuff like that. We have enjoyed these. We also have another series that is coming out alongside with this one. It's going to kind of be intertwined in between, if not after, which is religion and horror. That one is another interesting topic, as well as a controversial topic that we break down and discuss on if religion is overused, what type of religion is used, yada, yada, yada. It is worth it to listen to it because we share our thoughts. We would love to hear your guys' thoughts. But let's get into our topic of the day. After the breakdown of the world, when a virus strikes, what do you plan for, the zombies or a plague or even a virus? But the world is going to hell, and we take a dive into horror movies that show us what sort of future we may have in store for us. maybe we should take notes, huh? Which I think, as I have explained, maybe in a couple other episodes that we've done, sometimes it's a little coincidental. Sometimes these movies, I think, does set us up for, futuristic stuff. We should probably take
We
notes.
should, but not
Who
everyone
knew?
will.
Yeah, not everyone will. There'll be those ones that are like, nah, it's never gonna happen, and next thing you know, they're the first ones to go.
Well, you should maybe maybe kind of, in South Park where they're going to war and they put up minorities at the front. Maybe you should do that with the minorities who didn't listen to like all the fucking warning signs that people have been, trying to show you rather than all the false flag shit. It's like maybe you should fucking listen, pay attention, and actually do some research. Just use the cannon fodder.
The Darwin minorities, okay?
Yes, the Darwin Awards, they're the best thing ever.
Yep, we get the stupid people who didn't listen who goes up front. The smart ones are not even going to be in there because they're going to be doing the proper thing by hiding, by being in a bunker, by being wherever the stupid people are not.
Exactly, because we don't want to be brought down by one stupid individual.
Exactly. I've always said that some days in this day and age, just take the warning label off chemicals and everything else like that and let people weed themselves out.
Yeah.
I mean, Tide Pod challenges, eating a spoonful of cinnamon, stuff like that. Yeah, I'm pretty sure warning labels just need to be taken off a few things here and there.
Should just be a warning label on that person. Like, proceed with caution. Warning.
They do stupid things.
Yes.
So, who knew that experimenting with different diseases and viruses could end the world and bring about the fall of the planet? I think this subject hits a little close to home, especially in the past few years, yet we have most likely laughed it off until the global pandemic that we have experienced ourselves, yet it was closer to the...
Plandemic.
Yeah.
No, it's plandemic. Yeah, I meant to say that.
Okay, I had to double check. I'm like, wait a second.
It wasn't a typo. It wasn't a fucking typo. Fuck you. It was not a fucking typo.
See, this is why we go well together, guys, because we love ripping the piss out of each other. Get used to it. Love us.
It's not us doing it in badness. That's how the type of friends we are.
Yes. Why do I say this? Well, when the world was doing better, with everyone being at home and not destroying planet Earth at every chance they got, as we were all under orders of not to go outside, stay inside, and to test, etc. Wear masks and wash your hands, telling us to get vaxxed, and that we cannot catch it twice. Even one leader said to drink bleach.
Yes, that was Trump.
Yeah.
I actually really think he would. I thought he'd if he get luscious locks, live forever, and make him the president forever, he would drink bleach with every meal.
Probably. A little bit of water, a little bit of wine.
Bleach?
Wow.
Why not?
Wow, seriously. While they were stealing and hiding funds to the highest bidder in false contracts to line not just their own, but their rich fat cat mates along the way, the world became under attack by the people running the world, the very people voted in to help us and protect us. Yet the conspiracy behind where the virus started and who created it and how anyone who asked any sort of question was a member of the Tin Hat Brigade. Yes. Because we saw something wasn't right, and they were trying to keep us all quiet and under control by using a virus to control who we see, what we do, and how we live our lives, and still happening. Also, money.
We didn't get that really here. Remember, I said to you, it was only per household and not per person, whereas you're a much larger country compared to, obviously, the United Kingdom. So we didn't get only per family. It was per family. Everybody got one thing, and that's it. Even though different needs, different things.
So we did the whole unemployment thing, and they gave us the money. We were able to file for, as an individual, even if we lived in the same household, for that extra incentive money to help us out. But when they started doing the checks, they were single household, but we still got a decent amount for that, which, let me tell you, it paid off a lot of stuff. We were smart. We used it to pay off half the crap that we needed to pay off, so we didn't have any bills.
Exactly, that's the best way, and then you don't even have the bill. And then after this is over with, and you don't have said bills to deal with. That is a very, very smart thing to do. Most people were buying stupid shit or spending it on stupid shit.
Don't get me wrong. We did after we paid off everything that needed to be paid off. Yeah, we splurged a little bit on stuff that we may have wanted, but it wasn't like right off the get go we did that and then wasted all the money that we had just for all that stuff. No, we took care of bills. We paid a couple months ahead of time in some of the bills. We took care of a lot of stuff, and then once all said and done, oh well, we always wanted a new this, or we needed a new this. That's when we splurged a little bit.
Well,
But
this is what they did for pandemic. They don't talk about stuff like that in the movies that we're going to talk about today. They don't actually have any sort of support for helping people. That's the thing about these movies. They're only about the incident, what happened, and if not, they managed to resolve the problem and we could go back to civilization as it was. But that hasn't happened in real life. Do you know what I mean? So it's, again, if they only had, if I'm going to go all Randy here and say this, Randy makes, there is a formula, a very simple fucking formula. Watch the movies, get your fucking ideas, because hello, it's there in black and white, crystal clear, in front of you, showing you how not to go about it. Yet you didn't. You did it your own way, and literally everybody is still fucked. So, yeah.
there is this formula, guys. There always has been. There always will be. You follow the formula, you will maybe survive.
Survive. Or die trying.
Yes, or die trying. But I mean, for the most part, you will get your head out of your ass and you will survive what needs to be survived. And then, yes, at a later time, it might come down to, hey, is this really worth it? Is it this? Is it that? Worry about it at a later time. But for the initial start of everything, you will survive what you need to survive. We spoke about how V was being used as a symbol of how the world was going. It was like we were getting closer to the dystopian world that we hear about in our movies, and how the world is literally dying, and us inhabiting it, well, are we the problem? I think in this time, yes, we are not. You or me, but those in power, they aren't using their positions for the people, only for themselves and others in the same boat. This is not for the good of the many.
No, it is not.
Nope. Sci-fi and horror, or both of them together, have created some of the most amazing and imaginative end-of-the-world scenarios that can make it easier for us to see what to expect from the future, and all we can do is prepare for it. As we said in the last part, always be aware, always stay safe, and always watch your back.
Yes.
So what movies have portrayed a virus or a disease in horror that have been close to reality or not so far-fetched since the pandemic? And again, guys, they're not all horror movies. A couple of these might be a little more sci-fi than anything, but they would still be classified under the sci-fi horror section genre, especially, if you will.
Yeah, because of what usually happens to the people who are infected. Wouldn't actually, yes, it technically does classify under sci-fi, but we spoke about this before. When you start like adding blood and death and, well, the way these films go with their violence, it's not very sci-fi anymore. That's
nope, it's really not.
Don't come for us, because I do a lot of research. Some of these research things that I'm doing is, yes, it's from knowledge of what I already have from obviously being obsessed with this genre. But I do a lot of fucking research. When I get an idea, I research everything and I go basically balls to the wall when it comes to research. And some people, if you think, oh, that's not horror, then we've already said we will cover horror and sci-fi and fantasy and everything in that genre, because this is our world basically, even though we love the genres and the topics. But we play games, we read books, we watch movies, we watch TV shows, all around this same humongous universe that is horror and sci-fi and fantasy. So as we've said before when we're doing other series, that a lot of movies will be in one part and then they'll be in another part for another reason. But it all works out. Basically, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, and guys, she's not lying. She does an absolute amazing job when it comes to doing the research for these movies and for these series. And she knows exactly where to put them. She does have a lot of, I would say, patience for it. But
It's
she does,
repetitive.
yes,
It's
she does do a
repetitive.
heck of a job, though. And it is well worth it. So anything that we do end up putting in certain spots throughout, there is a reason why. And yes, she doesn't do it all by herself. She does message me and say, hey, what movie would this particularly one go to? Which series? But for the most part, she does do a lot of it herself because she's very intuitive and she's very good at doing the research. But there are some movies that can get a little tricky.
I thought you were going to say she's really controlling. Can you not tell?
Only your hubby is allowed to say that, not me.
He doesn't really get to say that either. He gets a
My
lick.
point exactly. Anyway.
The lick of
So,
demon.
first on our list is a sci-fi / horror movie that has actually had adaptations made from this. The movie was actually good. The remake that they did, not. Anyways,
There was 2 remakes, so
yes. 2 remakes. So for those of you who do not or have not seen this movie, you may have seen the adaptations of The Omega Man and I Am Legend. So the movie has Vincent Price in the lead as a scientist who is the last man standing after a pandemic. Sound familiar?
exactly.
Where it has turned the world's population into nocturnal vampires, and it's his own personal battle to find supplies in the daylight to help bring them down for his survival. He is hunted. Is he the hunted or the hunter?
I think he's both, technically.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lonely life. Like, that's how they kind of describe it in I Am Legend.
Yeah.
It's very lonely
And
because you're left by yourself.
and The Last Man on Earth, and The Omega Man, and I Am Legend, they pretty much all have the same premise, the same basis. So if I were to talk about I Am Legend, basically I'm talking about the other two as well. It is a movie that does center around one singular character trying to fight not only his own personal demons because of the pandemic that is going on around him, but at the same time trying to fight for the survival of humanity.
Yeah.
The movie itself, I mean, if you guys have seen I Am Legend, obviously you guys know that Will Smith played in it. It was, for a modern aged movie, it was decent. It didn't have anything on The Last Man on Earth. The adaptation of it for the Omega Man wasn't the greatest, but they all have the same similar basis to the movie.
And because they're remakes, again, there are going to be similarities and very probably close to the story being like the plot and everything because it's based on a story basically, and it's just the director and the writers basically adaptation of the work before and the original concept. But again, it could have been a lot worse.
It could have been.
So-
And I think the only thing that kind of does make the I Am Legend, the Will Smith version, better than most is the fact that it was made at a later time, so the CGI did get a little bit better.
See, I didn't think, compared to the story, see, I've not seen the Mega Man, but I have seen The Last Man on Earth, and obviously I Am Legend. When I think about it, though, I'd still rather watch The Last Man on Earth than watch I Am Legend. And that's nothing to do with Will Smith, because growing up in the 80s and the 90s, especially in the 90s, is predominantly where fucking Will Smith was in everything. And he had a soundtrack for everything. So he was literally in your face 24/7. And look, don't get me wrong, that did well for him then. Not so much now. He's famous for a slap now. That's about it. So yeah. Again, I'd still rather watch The Last Man on Earth. Last Man on Earth would be one of the films I'd probably start off watching if we were having like a movie marathon about, this sort of genre, this sort of topic. I would probably start off with that and then, probably watch a few that's on this list. And I think you know which one I'm probably talking about that I would probably most likely watch and have watched at least twice this year because it was based in Scotland. So there's 2 in this list that were based in Scotland.
So the next one on this list, descriptions weren't done for this because she has not seen it.
No.
I
Or
have.
if I have, it's obviously not memorable.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's
it
terrible.
it wasn't the greatest movie out there, especially at the time that it did come out, because
Was it
um
2011?
yes, 2011. I do believe so.
Yes, it was. So yeah, I could
Yes.
have seen it. One's Fishbourne's in it, so I probably have seen it. I just don't like Kate Winslet. She's a bit of a tunt.
Yep. So the movie in question is Contagion. So the movie in question does actually star a pretty decent cast. It's got Matt Damon, Kate Winslet, Jude Law, Gwyneth Paltrow, and I mean, obviously, you can't forget Mr. Fishburne. But
Exactly.
if nobody has seen Contagion, we're not going to get into a full description of it. We're not going to break this one down. But I will read the IMDb description of the movie, and
Have
then
to
we
put
will
your
move
voice
on.
on. You got to do your movie plot voice when we read it off IMDb. Remember, where you
Yes.
overpronunciate the words and stuff. That's what we do when we do that. Yes.
Healthcare professionals,
Exactly.
government officials, and everyday people find themselves in the midst of a pandemic as the CDC works to find a cure. IMDb, that is it. That is all they got.
No, for the
Obviously not that
storyline,
memorable.
yes, the storyline is soon after her return from a business trip to Hong Kong. Beth Emhoff dies from what is a flu again, pandemic, or some other type of infection. Her son dies later the same day. Her husband Mitch, however, seems immune. Oh, fantastic. Thus begins the spread of a deadly infection. For doctors and administrators at the US Centers for Disease Control, several days pass before anyone realizes the extent or gravity of this new infection. They must first identify the type of virus in question and then find a means of combating it, a process that will likely take several months as the contagion spreads to millions of people worldwide and societal order begins to break down as people panic. So basically, the 2011 Contagion film is basically the fucking pandemic of 2020 until recent. That's basically, we just lived that.
Yep, and not
And
only
that was
that
a
too,
film from 12 years ago.
if you remember reading the description part of the story that her husband is immune, that also has the same basis as I Am Legend.
There's always someone who's immune. That's in 28, was it 28 days or 28 weeks later as well? There's someone
Mhm.
there's always you're like patient X where you can be infected, but it's literally like anybody can be like children are really bad. They're walking basically infections. I'm sorry, I have a child. I'm not being mean or anything, but they go to fucking school and they socialize. They're around
Absolutely.
kids that are messy who don't wipe their nose, cough, and don't fucking cover their faces when they cough or sneeze. My son is always telling people, you should be putting your hand over your mouth because that's how you spread germs. He's very, very, he's very, very well, just when it comes to shit like that, he's just like, if you're going to do that, get the fuck away from me. He's 11 and he says that. He's like, get the fuck away from me if you're not going to cover your mouth. So basically, children basically are walking germs. So if anybody's patient X, it's usually going to be a child. The immunity is usually someone that you usually don't like and never get sick. That's usually the person who's patient X who actually usually is. Aren't they usually used as the control? Usually the ones who have got an immunity. Do you not think so?
Patient X is definitely always usually a child. They can't control it, and they have an issue with it all the time. But I think that right there kind of explains Contagion in the best possible light.
They should change it just to COVID.
Mm-hmm. They should.
Or
Absolutely.
and you said they're making a fucking COVID film, so basically they're just
Yes.
fucking copying Contagion.
Pretty much, yeah. Even some of the
Plot.
comments off of IMDb, the very first one that I remember reading said, my husband and I watched this movie during the COVID-19 pandemic, and it basically suits this era now.
Fuck yes.
Of course it does.
Definitely. Yes.
But
Definitely.
the next movie on this list, I am going to let my fellow
yes.
partners take it because, yes, this movie is based in Scotland. So,
It's based in
Darcy?
Glasgow, majority of it.
Yes, it is.
It's before I actually go into what I wrote about it, there's been always discussions about Scottish independence and, you know, breaking away from the United Kingdom and all that carry on. I don't care if you're against it, if you're for it. I am for it. I really don't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. That's my opinion. But we always joked about how we were going to build a wall, like Trump style, not to keep us away from yous. It was more likely to stop yous coming in stealing our shit. And also leave us the fuck alone. We don't want fucking any part of your shit. That we always joke about this, and in Doomsday they actually build a wall, and in London they try and say to these people that they've built a massive, like, kind of like the way Hadrian's Wall was with the Romans when they came over to like split apart the UK, was to apparently keep the mentalists out. The mentalists were doing fine. Do you know what I mean? So the mentalists didn't give a fuck. They just didn't want people coming over their wall. Do you know what I mean? So Doomsday, basically, as I said, fucking love this movie. It's based in Scotland. The majority of it is actually filmed in Glasgow. But the way to describe us is where we want to keep them out, basically. We have a beautiful country here, and again, it's like stop taking our resources, gas, oil, water, power, especially in the dystopian future when you have all the resources like we do in Scotland. We have gas, oil, water, and power. We'd be a country you'd want to keep. Do you know what I mean? It's because we have all these things. Basically, the wall is to basically keep us out of England, not the other way about. It starts with a virus known as the Reaper virus, and apparently it just makes you go nuts. And I always used to joke about Doomsday that when I read the back of the DVD, I said this basically just explaining Glasgow and an old firm matches is when Celtic and Rangers play, which is the two teams from Glasgow, and everybody goes mental, everybody gets drunk, everybody does stupid shit. That's basically what fucking happens, and it's basically they've done it around a virus where we all go mental. And it's like, how can you actually tell when we're normal mental and Reaper mental, which was hilarious. Apparently, we become a lawless state and obviously uncontrollable, which again, they're Glaswegians people, so usually not controllable anyone near the slightest. So everyone's like, the world's gone insane, and they have been sent to find this holy grail of a cure. Because they keep saying constantly in these films that there is a cure, don't they? They did it with Resident Evil as well. There's a cure, or there's obviously a different way to overcome basically things getting worse, basically. So they send this guy to Scotland to try and get this cure. Now, if we had the cure, do you really think we'd fucking give it to them? We do fuck. So they keep sending people from the other side of the wall, basically, over. And as you can imagine, we're running out of food. So therefore there's a lot of indications that they're eating people and they're cannibals, as they did the scene at the Barrowlands where they've got the big massive, pit, and it's killed the last person basically that came over the wall. So yeah, they send other people to do their work basically, but there's parts of Scotland that haven't been touched and are not actually infected like the cities. But we talk about that a lot as well. Invasion and Apple, the cities are all fucked because there's a bigger population there, but when you go out towards like the country and stuff, this countryside, there's not as many infected, if not any, type of thing. So Doomsday not only is a really good movie that describes basically people who are mental, who end up with a mental disease and just become even more mental. It's a fun movie, even though there is aspects of horror and sci-fi and everything to do with disease and virus. I don't know if you've seen it, but if you ever hear me saying my husband pulled a Doomsday, would you know what that means?
He went crazy.
No. Do you not remember the scene in Doomsday where they're going about and girls are wearing wearing short skirts and they're wearing like stockings and stuff, and then the guy goes up behind them and he slaps their arse down and then upwards? That's pulling a Doomsday, as we call it, because it's from that movie and my husband does it quite a lot to me. So, pulling a Doomsday is when he he does that to my butt basically. Because it's fun. Well, it's not fun. It hurts sometimes, but it's just the bit where he's doing it to all the girls in the Barrowlands. And if I say my husband's pulling a Doomsday for insanity, it would be me if it was like that. But no, the pulling a Doomsday means when you're just like slapping your wife's arse, basically, or my husband's snapping my arse, basically. So
Gotcha.
So Doomsday basically is a virus that makes people crazy, but in Scotland you couldn't really tell who was infected and who wasn't. It was incredibly difficult to actually show who was just mental and who was actually infected, which I do totally agree, and that's why I thought The Funny had some really funny parts to it, because it's probably how most people see us anyway. So the movie kind of showed that you sometimes can't even tell if you're infected or not. So that's why I put that one in there, because it was, again, another really good movie, a small movie that, again, has done justice, because I think most people thought in Scotland that the pandemic was going to be closer to that, and it wasn't. So the only film I think out of this list so far has been Contagion. That's actually been closer to the pandemic so far.
Yeah, when I first seen Doomsday, I actually wanted to get the biohazard tattoo that the guy had on his back.
Oh, there was some nice artwork for people's tattoos in that movie. There really was. I don't have any, as you know, but I do appreciate good art, especially tattooists and what they do. So watching some of people who with amazing artwork all over them, it's absolutely beautiful. So some of the designs were amazing. Really, really enjoyed them.
Yes.
We put a Grindhouse classic in the pandemic. It wouldn't be us if we weren't putting a Grindhouse or a snuff film in this. It really would not be. But I just wanted to cover all aspects of pandemic, virus, dystopian type. I wanted to give you a broad spectrum, put it that way. Are you talking this one, or do you want me to do it?
I got it.
You want to do the
So,
snuff one, don't you?
oh yeah. I Drink Your Blood is next on this list. 1970.
None of us were born.
None of us were born, but they sure seem to know how to do pandemics very well.
Yes.
And exploitation at its finest. Wouldn't you say?
I didn't actually think that would be an actual line I would ever say, but hey.
Yeah. So satanic free-loving people who seem to terrorize the town with their free love from Satan. Hippies and Satanism, huh? I again misunderstood the times, and could they not just have called them a cult, as it sounds closer to a cult? So a lot of content that can get you banned are coercing people into taking D, yes, the capital D, and totally mind fucking porn people involved in this ordeal with their own barrel of crazy. So for revenge of the girl being attacked, her brother laces meat pies with rabid dog blood. So as you can imagine, it doesn't turn out well for the Satanist hippies as they become rabid. This movie was the first to receive a X rating from the MPAA for its violence. I wonder why. Also, is sometimes matched with a similar movie called I Eat Your Skin, and as you can imagine, this is not a sunshine and unicorns. So a rabid disease is to take care of those Satanists. Well, being a 1970s movie, I've probably seen it maybe once, if not maybe twice. But it probably would have been years and years ago. So reading the description, it kind of brings back some form of memory to it. But I haven't seen it in a while, so I couldn't really say much about it. But yeah, I mean, just any movie that really brings together hippies, Satanists, revenge, and rabid dog blood. You could only imagine how that movie's going to end.
But it doesn't make any sense why hippies would be wanting to bring about Satan, since that's not what hippies actually stand for. They're all for free love and no war, no fighting, nothing evil. So that's the only thing that it's not. It's
Yeah,
closer.
it just
It kind of reminds me of, where they try to say that, what's his face? Oh, douchebag who killed the actress that was pregnant. What was his name? Charles Manson. See, like, had them seen he was all hippie and stuff. No, he wasn't. I was like, he literally just was. He was a scene kid, basically, the original scene kid. He did whatever the fuck was popular. Do you know what I mean? So there's that. But no, the I Drink Your Blood again. It's like meat pies from fucking rabid dogs, man. Obviously, you've got to work with what you've got. It's not like they had like COVID lying about in the 70s. You know what I mean? Or some random.
Every time I hear about meat pies, the only thing that I really think of, I mean,
Sweeney
minus
Todd.
rabid, but is
Sweeney Todd.
Sweeney Todd. Yeah.
And who doesn't want a Sweeney Todd special?
I mean, they look damn delicious.
I know, but it's like I'm not even going to question them. If I was starving, I would eat anything. So
Oh, absolutely. I
delicious.
mean,
Sorry, when I ate solid food, should I say? 'Cause I'm on a food ban at the moment. So not that I'm upset about it. Can you tell? At this time of year, where there's food everywhere,
yes.
the worst time of year. So you spoke about the last film, The Crazies, but you talked about the 2006 one. You told me to download it.
Yes. Yep. So, next on our list is The Crazies. So, The Crazies honestly is a very good movie. The original and the remake
Doesn't always
were
happen.
good. Which what doesn't happen, the remake has Timothy Oliphant in it.
Yeah, he's
Oliphant.
brilliant.
I call him Oliphant.
Sometimes he comes out as elephant, but I love that actor. He's brilliant.
Yes. Timothy Oliphant, and he's done some great movies throughout the years.
Hitman.
Hitman. He's also done
Scream 2. He was in Scream 2 as well, was he not?
yes, and then he's also did Die Hard.
Oh, Die Hard 4. He was brilliant in that.
Live Free or Die Hard.
He was in the Santa Clarita Diet. He was brilliant in that. It was
Mhm.
fucking brilliant show with Drew Barrymore.
Yes,
He was also in what's that TV show he did where he was the sheriff? Justified. It was Justified he was in.
Yes,
He was brilliant in that
Justified.
too. I literally just
Yeah,
going on a
he's
rant and a tangent about fucking Timothy Oliphant here.
yes, he's kind of one of those actors, guys, that we can hold him at high standards with Matthew Lillard just because he's
Awesome.
he's awesome and he's got so much reach with his acting diversity because he can go from playing a very nice, simple man to playing a crazy, deranged asshole. And
He'll love that fucking description you just gave of him right there.
I do because it's so true. I mean, look at like I said, Matthew Lillard. He can literally go from the sweetest dude, like especially in 13 Ghosts, he was a nice guy. But then look at some of his other movies.
In 13 Ghosts, he was a nice guy, but he was working an angle.
Mm-hmm.
But the way he was in 13 Ghosts, which we will talk about because we're doing a Matthew Lillard special for his birthday next year, I felt sorry for him in that film, I really did, because he had a gift that he obviously didn't want and it hurt him. So that's the thing with Timothy Oliphant. He's played characters that people like, he was Hitman, how the fuck is he going to manage that? And it's like, because he's fucking Timothy Oliphant, he can do what the fuck he wants. He can do it all.
Absolutely.
He's a chameleon.
He is. But a movie that has been remade, yes, but from what I have read, the remake is good. So let's not fixate and let's describe why the movie has ended up on this list. Although The Crazies is in its own weirdly manic universe with not only an outbreak, it also has its own form of viral conspiracy, which again we saw throughout the pandemic a few years back, making this one a holy fuck. And I'm gonna say it, holy fuck.
As your child's in the background, you're shouting fuck.
Type of bad feeling, doesn't it? Yet this is another rage-based pathogen. Anything with rage never ends well.
No, it doesn't.
So it doesn't. And the remake explains it kind of at the beginning and kind of at the end. It is a government setup for this virus. It's been a while since I've seen Romero's, but I think he kind of does the same thing with it where it shows at the beginning and the end that it is a government setup. They released a virus to basically see if it can, 1, be controlled, 2, be used as a weapon, and 3, how hard is it going to be to kill? So a lot of the times what you want to do with those is you want to put it in a very small town that nobody's going to give a shit about if it comes up missing. And they do a very good job with it. And in good old fashion for the remake, Mr. Good Old Oliphant plays a cop. Go figure. He's always got some kind of use with his gun. Hitman, Justified. Let's play another cop, why don't we?
He plays it very well, though.
He does. He very well does. But, I mean, it just seems like he's being typecast with a gun, whether it's just the movie or just how he is.
It is.
So
we've already spoke about the next film, but I just wanted, because it was based, I'm just going to quickly say it. We spoke about Daybreakers before, It is technically vampire. It's sci-fi, it's horror, it's an amazing movie, amazing cast. Again, never got the recognition it should have because literally that point of that sort of story and backbone in Hollywood had already either died or wasn't actually being revamped at that point with vampires and that sort of universe. So basically, this is a movie about vampirism, but vampirism is not even, it's the disease basically. People become vampires, so therefore there's hardly any humans for the vampires to actually survive. So they create a synthetic, basically. It's basically basically create something synthetic. So yes, vampires can still stay alive, and the humans can actually still stay alive and not be fed on to the fact that if humans don't obviously reproduce children, then their food source would be completely depleted and they'd be fucked anyway. So they had to technically be able to survive together, even though one is the prey and the victim of the other. So that was the good thing about that in Daybreakers is that if you caught the pathogen, you became a vampire and you literally had to drink blood. So again, I think that's, even though, see, like True Blood and stuff uses a synthetic blood called True Blood, funnily enough. And vampires, some of them drink that because some people don't actually like hurting humans, and that was pretty much how that's the way Daybreakers was, even though technically True Blood was a book and was out before. But you know what I mean? It's another way of saying that vampires taking over the world, then if they've got no food, then they're fucked. So they would have to do something anyway. So they work together and obviously find a cure, even though it's just basically to stop the extinction of both races, which they do when they create the synthetic blood. They never went into it saying, "Will you still be? Would you still? Would it wouldn't actually stop you getting the virus anyway into becoming a vampire?" But it's
And
just to help them in the long run, I think.
yeah, and even like she said, guys, if you haven't seen the movie, go ahead and watch it because it does have a bang up cast. It's got Ethan Hawke, it's got Willem Dafoe, Sam Neill.
Fucking amazing characters, amazing story, amazing everything, and it's very dark. If you like movies that are like set in a kind of dark type of like dark dank type thing, so I said it's like Sin City and Spawn type, The Crow type thing. It has that kind of aspect, like kind of Event Horizon, very dark, very gritty. It's meant to look older than what it is, and it's not. But that's the feel for the movie, and it sets the scene, every little wee thing type thing. And again, Darkside is another one to actually describe the darkness of the actual environment that they're in, and that's what Daybreakers is like. But again, it is based on a different version of a virus, and also it's a cure for both races to basically prevent extinction forever, basically.
Yes,
and that's why I wanted to talk about Daybreakers.
And it kind of has a moral of the story too. A little bit. It's a little bit weirder than most morals that you would get out of a dark and gritty movie like Daybreakers or Event Horizon or anything like that. But basically, the moral of the story is you can't always live in the shadows. Once you come out into the light, you'll be okay. And that's kind of basically what it kind of centers around a little bit, because once you see the light, then you're cured.
It's also the fact that they both needed each other to actually prevent the extinction of both races. So whether they liked or hated each other, you can't survive without me, and we can't survive without you. So let's just stop being tunts and just get what we need to get done, and then we can both be happy and we can move the fuck on, and we don't have to have anything to do with each other anymore. We can both survive and we both can live, and isn't that what everybody wants? Not even about pandemics and viruses.
Absolutely.
So we have, how many do we have now? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 movies.
Old Rabbit, 1977. Guys, Rabbit is it's another dark one that came out in the 70s. It was a good movie, and it definitely was well worth being put into this list, and here's why. So here we have a wee bit of fun with the whole disease and virus part of the breakdown and discussion. Yes, it was me again. I take full responsibility for the well appendage talk on this one. Thank you, Darcy.
Literally just spoke what I was going to be saying. So basically, what's coming has nothing to do with me. It's the fucking story, okay? If you've not fucking seen it. So I do apologise about the plot of this story, but it's funny, and I thought people would find it hilarious. So I apologise for that in advance.
So Patient X is a woman who ends up in a RTA. The actress who plays Patient X is actually a former porn star. Maybe this was her breakaway from being broken in, no?
Did you like when I went there?
Yes, yes, yes.
Not written by a man, written by a woman, by the way. Just a man's talking about it now.
So after her accident, she finds out she must have these specialized grafts to help her recover from the tragic accident, which has left her with these terrible injuries. Everything seems okay, she's healing, but that never turns out well, does it?
No.
So while in recovery from these specialized rare grafts, she seems to have grown a phallic appendage under her armpit. As you do, how is that a side effect beyond me?
How is it growing a cock out your armpit from a graft to help you from a road traffic accident? How? I was. Yes.
Yeah, so you guys haven't seen the movie. She gets these grafts done, and while during her process of healing, she does end up growing a cock out of her armpit.
Of all places. It's a hard to reach place to even use that. Come on.
Well, now you're just laying on the bed with your arms spread out wide. There you go. That's how you reach it. She's a porn star. She was a former porn star. She can make it happen.
She'll have like a way around it, like a workaround.
Exactly. It's like a strap-on for the arm.
Yeah, for all the pleasure of arm fucking. Wow.
Yeah. So how does this become an outbreak, you ask? Well, this appendage and her thirst for human blood makes it a high risk of her wanting to satiate her urges by nomming you. Nom 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 nom. And in
Not
turn,
your penis, though, just anything.
And in turn, she turns you into a foaming at the mouth undead rabid entity, of course. Then, as you can imagine, the turn rate is higher as she bites 1, then 2, then 3, creating more and more rabid humans wanting to eat the population. So lesson here, be careful on the road, never drive recklessly, or you could end up with a bloody, thirsty penis appendage that will take out the human population for their thirst for your blood that her armpit penis is craving. Don't make bad choices. These choices could bring about the apocalypse.
Because it's a Canadian.
In Canada. Yep.
Yes. I don't know how this managed to be made, but it was. It's memorable. It really is. That's all I'm saying, because I just have this envision of this penis getting a bite of its own and going, wah! Do you know,
At this point in time, I'm literally thinking it's, Ryan Reynolds is literally actually Deadpool, and he took the little time machine from Cable and went back in time and made this movie. Because this sounds like something Ryan Reynolds would make.
Because it's like a... No, I keep thinking that the penis talks and the penis sounds like, the voice from Kung Pao. If you've ever seen that really terrible movie. Yeah. Like, meow. It's just like, do you think it does that before it fucking bites people? I'm sorry, I don't
Probably
know.
Does.
The fact that this woman's running about with a penis coming out of her, whatever she's wearing, or the fact that she's running about just with the penis out and letting it do... I'm just like, see, in real life, that would never happen. I'm thinking to myself, it's a movie, it's okay. But it's still like, where the fuck did your brain go to create that? Where was
Probably in a lot of places that it should have never been.
And this porn star thought this was a good get out of porn free card? Do you know what I mean?
So,
well,
Canadian porn star, she was just being nice.
Oh, she probably asked permission before her penis actually, drank your blood and turned you into a raging, bloodthirsty, rabid infectee in Canada. Do you think they all asked permission before?
Why not?
I only did a small thing for the next one because we probably will do something with this because it is a remake of a remake type thing. So it's basically.
So next on the list is the 1982 remake of The Thing.
And it's a remake, not the original one, before you all go off on a fucking tangent. This is actually a fucking remake, and they did, remake it again.
Yes, this is the remake of the original, but there is a remake of the original.
Exactly.
So that's literally like talking about the what the heck is that movie? The Poseidon Adventures with the
Yeah.
Poseidon cruise ship that flips over in the middle of the ocean. That is literally a remake of the remake of the remake of the remake of the original. That movie has had so many remakes and movies made from it, it's ridiculous.
It's like, fucking stop it. We've had enough already. Move
Yeah,
on.
we get it. You tried to make a movie that almost mimicked Titanic. We get it. Stop it. So, even though this is a remake, it is a very good and amazing classic. So, by this universe, if you have a dry cough and a fever, which is me all the time, yes, if you guys
It's both
have
of us.
noticed, yeah,
It's
if you
both of
guys
us.
have noticed, between Darcy and I, we cough a lot, we sniff a lot,
Catch COVID a
we're not,
lot.
yeah, we're not okay. Okay, we'll leave it at that. And all the time,
Exactly.
I am a thing. We are. So what I would be patient zero in this universe, most likely. Yes, Darcy and I, we don't know what's going on with us. Okay, we're just here living in the moment, and whatever happens, happens.
I don't even
Um,
leave the house and I still end up sick. So,
and I leave the
yeah.
house, and I rarely end up sick. But when I do end up sick, the world's ending. I'm not your typical guide where I cry when I get a cold or anything like
And
that.
flu.
I have to be up, moving around, and doing stuff. But my body feels like I was
Shit.
just ran over by an 18-wheeler and needs to just die somewhere.
It's not just the fact that you've been run over by the 18-wheeler, it's the fact the 18-wheeler thought, you know what, I'm going to roll right over you again because I don't think I quite hit everything. It's pretty much how I feel usually.
The remakes of the remakes of the remakes, yada, 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 whatever. It's been around. It's been a good movie through and through. And if you guys did not know that or have not seen this movie, this literal description of this movie, we literally just has come up with a dry cough and a fever is literally all it takes to be the thing.
It's not just the thing, it's you become one of the things. That's the thing. So it's like, would you
Yeah.
really want to be called the thing and everybody else is called the thing? They don't even have a good name for the infect, do they?
No, they don't. But I mean, that's kind of what makes this movie, though, because you really don't know what exactly it is, minus being sick, and that's what becomes of you as the thing. So it kind of makes itself well known that this is exactly what it should be, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I guess that's what it is, the thing.
We have Children of Men. Again, not really horror, more in the sci-fi thing, but again, it's another one of those things that I think some of the horrors that we picked that are closer to the sci-fi genre or sci-fi horror topic is the fact that it's horrific to watch, not only because sometimes the story's shit, but it's horrific to think that this is a world that could happen. In my honesty, when I am actually picking some of the things that I pick, don't you agree that if that was the future, man, you're like, oh, holy fuck. Do you know what I mean? I hope I die before then. Do you know what I mean? I don't have to be subjected to this shit. So, Children of Men is a really, really good movie. It's set in 2027, which again is not that far away. The movie came out in 2006. It was really, 21 years in the future. So, the world as we know it has fallen by an unsuspected harmful event that has caused the world to become women are sterile basically. Everyone's sterile. So there's been no new children been born since everybody became sterile, which in a perfect world that would be great for me. But hey, again, just me who feels that way just now. So since the apocalypse, no babies, no children have been born. So you can think of what happens to the world, because as people die, you need more people to live. So we can survive. So after 20 years, they're in the UK and they found a young woman who is pregnant in a world where there are no babies, and they can't even be created naturally or artificially. So there's been nothing. So this young woman is basically subjected to whoever has her is important. So therefore, no one's going to fuck with you. So she's used by basically both sides, the government and obviously the kind of, what would you really call them? It was like they weren't really, they, you know what I mean? You've got the government and you have everybody else, the general population. They were like a sort of society of people.
Sounds like a cult.
basically. It does sound like a cult, or it kind of, do you know, like in The Last of Us, where it was just like where they went to that other place. Sorry, spoiler, because it's a new TV show. I'm sorry, I can't help it. See, where they go to that place where they've created sort of a. It kind of felt like cultish as well, but they've created a civilization basically of survival, and that's pretty much what they've created here. But because this one person is basically in control of this young woman, they think this young woman thinks that she's doing it for the best reasons. But it's like, she's pregnant. What's going to happen when she has the fucking baby? Do you really think that woman's going to get to walk the fuck away? She's the first woman to ever actually conceive, carry, and give birth to a child. So they're not going to let her walk the fuck away. They're going to be like, who the fuck got you up the stick? And how the fuck did this? Wasn't immaculate conception. Do you know what I mean? They're going to work. They're going to do experiments on her and the child. It's not going to turn it out. And that is what Children of Men about. The fact that no babies have been born in this time and someone is pregnant, basically. So an actual world of devastation, of disease or whatever, and the breakdown of the universe, the world. And this is the outcome of everything that's happened. And that's what my husband and I were actually talking about, Children of Men. See the stuff to do with some of the side effects for the vaccine they were making people get that wasn't a vaccine, it was just a flu jab. With all the side effects that are all coming out now, especially all the studies that have been happening in America about how it's going to affect people's fertility in the future, not just women, men, and all the things that your children could be born with in the future, these rare cancers and everything like that. That's pretty much how I feel Children of Men kind of fits in with the world we're in the now, because that shit's going to fucking happen in 20 years, maybe 30 years time, or shit is going to fucking happen. It's all going to be caused of the forced, vaccinations. So if you don't get vaccinations, you can't do these things. Do you know what I mean? So it's like kind of controlling the population to the point where they're going to end up fucking themselves up. And this is what happens in Children of Men. Don't you agree? Or you might disagree with that?
I definitely agree with it. I mean, it comes down to the fact of how, why, what, when.
And when did you think it was a good fucking idea to do
Yeah,
this?
I definitely thought it was one of those good movies that had a premise to act. Yeah.
It's, again, this is a movie that's actually showing what could happen in 20 to 30 years' time in the world that we live in right now, basically. And this is the list that we're creating for the future. And we joke about it constantly, but we're literally going to have a guide for a zombie apocalypse or disease or pandemic. It's literally going to end up like that. And if you weren't aware, then that's like, we're not even doing it in like a piss take. It's more of a, someone's must have written about this in the future kind of thing, and then they're just going to randomly come across our podcast where we're doing like bang, marry, kills and talking about surviving the apocalypse. But it will still be out there. It will still be out there. So we have another movie. It's actually a Hollywood movie, and it came out in 1995, and it's called Outbreak. And again, amazing cast. But again, this film was based on, again, more movies that were out before 1995. So apparently, as I can imagine, being called Outbreak, what's it going to be about? So we've kind of moved, we're going to go back to the rage type of disease, isn't it? The things that happen during pandemics, like the different types of viruses and stuff, but we're going down the animal route this time with Outbreak, and it's monkeys, which again, a lot of films are based on different, obviously, strains of viruses. So the Outbreak is sweeping through the country. It sets off the human race into sheer terror and panic. Again, that's what happens during pandemics and the unknown, and people are unsure of what the hell's going on. With no cure, no hope, yet they realise it's all about the monkeys. It's always about the fucking monkeys, isn't it? Always. After all, they give us false timeframes of a cure in 4 days, which again isn't enough time to run tests on live test subjects, let alone making up cultures, because this would take years. So again, Hollywood at its finest, a good one for Hollywood, but again, not realistic in the slightest, meaning no research again. Yes, even back then, the race to find the cure, it was the weirdest time frame, 4 fucking days. 4 fucking days, there's no way. Especially if you had to travel to other fucking countries and stuff to find out if maybe someone's got a different strain of the virus, has it evolved, there's no fucking way in 4 days that is going to fucking happen. But that was Outbreak for you. I just thought I wanted to put it out there because of how their time frames don't fucking work out. The story didn't work out because they didn't do like sometime in the future or weeks later when they've went somewhere else. No, it took 4 days to apparently cure everybody of the monkey virus. Do you believe it? Do a fuck. I do not believe it because that's not how vaccinations work. It's not how any sort of cure works. It takes more than 4 fucking days, and even the concept for creating a cure would take longer than 4 fucking days.
Oh, absolutely. And to be honest, this one definitely ties in with another one we have on this list that we have not discussed yet, and that is going to be World War Z. So when we get to that one, yes, we will definitely tie it in with this one. Another 1995 movie. This movie did...
I didn't actually realize it was 1995. That's how much my time scale of things does not work the same as everyone.
But it's another blockbuster made by 90s fashion.
Yep.
It's an underdog of a movie, but it does have a good cast, and just the 2 cast members alone right off the get-go are good. It's Bruce Willis and Brad Pitt. The movie is set in the year 2035.
Not that far in the future.
So as of right now, not so distant of a future. Back in 1995 it was, but now not so much. An incident that has almost wiped out humanity, Bruce Willis volunteers to head back to a time before the pandemic, before the disease is even created, to gather information for the future so that they can prevent it from ever happening.
It's a fucked up film. That's what I've got to tell you. Please don't watch it when you've had any sort of alcohol consumption or drugs,
it is. Don't.
Or D, because you will not get it. It will be like the others for me all over again. So
or for me, it was Inception when I was drunk.
Like, see me all that stuff moving. I'm surprised I didn't wait here.
I'm surprised I was standing. Well, I was actually sitting, but I'm surprised I didn't pass out from all the pretty colors and everything moving. Woo!
I'm like that. Anyway, out the game.
Yes, prevent it from happening and change the future of Earth. This movie had way much more research and story, yet wasn't as big as I owned it on. Well, you owned it on VHS. I think I owned it on DVD. It was a weird, obscure movie that you really had to be paying attention to. Why treat the guy from the future as if he's mentally unstable? He is trying to warn and prevent you from destroying the future and stopping the hysteria, yet the characters in this movie are already souped up on hysteria in a way. So it's about monkeys and a virus, and they want to understand the why and how it came around, as it has over time destroyed the world. And yes, that's what pathogens are like. These are designed to affect a certain type of people. It's only the strongest will survive, so it's just your luck, similarly to COVID. Is it bad? I want one of those isolation suits. No, Darcy, it is not bad that you want one of those isolation suits. Definitely need them in 2020, and then she definitely wants her own bubble. Definitely. Her and I have had this discussion. I told her if I ever were to come visit Scotland, I will make sure that I send her and wear my own hazmat suit. Wouldn't you agree that hazmat suits are well worth it?
Yes, my mic was up. So
that's kind of what I figured. That's why I asked.
I want my own bubble, but again, I don't really like. It sounds bad. I don't really like people. I think it's not. I don't think it's an autism thing. I think it's a me thing. That I'm like not really people orientated. Dogs, yes. Animals, yes. People, not so much. So one of those suits, I would literally have wore all the time. I had one of those. I've actually got one of those. See the plague doctor masks. I've got one of them, so that just shows you how much, I was told not to wear it during the pandemic because, I'd probably be arrested.
Next on this list is Resident Evil. And yes, I did originally think Darcy did not like the Resident Evil series.
You should be slapped for that.
And I should be. I will make sure.
Bend over, you're getting it.
I mean, dinner first? Or at least make me dinner first?
No, No. I've got to buy you dinner first? Oh my god, that's so expensive.
With as much as I eat, yes, it would be. But anyways, yeah, so her first description, she's going to hand it over to me on this one because I didn't think she liked Resident Evil But supposedly she bought a limited edition bottle of vodka that came in a bottle that looked like the T-virus canister.
And I still have it.
So that is my...
Exactly. Don't just assume.
You don't know how many people I've literally talked to that said they, the difference between liking and everything with Resident Evil, and it's like, listen, everybody gets so mad because of video game to movie adaptations, but the problem is not everybody knows that Resident Evil started off as a...
Yes.
So, in this whole universe, it's all what someone has created for good. And again, it is a virus that was originally created for the better part of humanity. Created in a lab, and this happens, and money is exchanged, and then, well, it's never going to end well. A global experiment gone wrong, and to what cost? But stop with the movies. They aren't getting any better. Just the sleeping dogs lie. Yes. No reboots either. No thank you. I like Mila. Just don't ruin part of my creepy lurking teen young. Yeah. Because yes, the Mila was fucking hot in the movies. I will say the HBO Max Welcome to Raccoon City did justice with the fact that they followed the first video game very well. The other aspects of it, not so much. But the fact that they followed the first game very well, I liked. Resident Evil, for a lot of people that don't know, yes, was started by somebody releasing the T-virus, but where did the T-virus come from? It came from the original G-virus. The G-virus was a lot more in-depth and complex than what the T-virus was, because the G-virus ended up having a lot more abnormalities to it than what the T-virus did. The T-virus created zombies. You infected the T-virus with another form of the virus, you got monsters like the Tyrant, the Nemesis, stuff like that, which, again, we're going to be doing a whole Resident Evil episode. The movie in itself shows what... Even though you can do good, or you can try to do good, you can make the world for the better, somebody is going to always have deep pockets. And whoever wants into those deep pockets, they're going to get into those deep pockets, and then things are going to turn out for the worse. And who was that company that ended up turning things out for the worst? It was the Umbrella Company.
Of course. Because it sounds... Umbrella sounds like something innocent. No. No.
The movies in itself were good. Even the CGI versions were pretty good. Like the latest one that they released, which I think was called Darkness Rising or Darkness or something like that. It was pretty good. The one where Leon was back in the White House after... And the nice thing I did like about the CGI films is they took place after either certain parts of the video game or certain parts of the main story movies. Like the one where they were in the White House, Leon was in the White House protecting the president from the zombie outbreak, took place after Resident Evil 4 when he saved the president's daughter.
So you like the fact that they still continue to actually bring in parts of...
They do a very good job at combining the universe.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's the word, thank you.
Just like how you and I have discussed that Alien versus Predator or Aliens and Predator do a good job at combining their universe. So it's another series that does combine it. Yes, no more reboots. Do I wish for them to continue the HBO series? Sort of. I'm not going to say yes.
I love how you're like, I don't want people to attack me about this.
See, a lot of people loved and disliked the series, or at least that movie. I was one of those people to where I'm 60-40 on it. 60% I like the movie. Why? Because it did follow the storyline well. It had characters from the Resident Evil Director's Cut game that you didn't get to see in the Mila Jovovich versions. But where it kind of threw off was that a lot of... honestly, the acting wasn't top par on it. That's where the 40% comes in. Because not only that, they also did try to combine two different movies or games into it. Because it was solely based off of Resident Evil, the first game, but it also was based off of Resident Evil Raccoon City. So it was the first and second game, I do believe.
But we're going to we're having a big actual thing of this universe. We're going to be talking about this universe as a whole, the games, the books, and the movies and the TV show, and basically how the universe started to how it's going now is going to be something that we do as a full breakdown. It'll be similar to what we do with Supernatural with me. What does that mean? The majority of the talking like shite for Supernatural, and it will be Luna that's actually talking about Resident Evil. And yes, I do love Resident Evil, and there's things I want to say or maybe things I want to ask. I will do is what he does when we do Supernatural. So that's basically going to be your kind of personal type between both of us doing research and stuff. So that's why we're not going right into it today. It's just that we wanted to add it because it is based on a virus and not really pandemic, but you see what happens years later, like the way they start every single Resident Evil film, like that, again, iconic scene where they're in Japan and they look up and it's the rain and it's the umbrellas and stuff. That's the scene of shit, something's going to fucking happen. Such a good scene, and there is some really good writing in the earlier movies, but they've seen a niche of they can literally just churn out shitty movies with a subpar story as long as they've got Mila in them.
Yeah, and if you remember correctly too, the one where it showed that they were in Japan was actually in a biodome, wasn't it?
Yeah, and then there's the one with the boat. Is that not the same one that they've got the big massive tanker and stuff, and it's that creepy as fuck guy that's there?
No, I think that one is the one before the one with Japan. The only one that I did not care out of the Mila Jovovich series was Extinction.
Extinction, yeah. See, what annoyed me about that is why would not have birds like that in the first film? Because birds would technically get infected because they would be eating the corpses that are sitting about.
Well, yeah, that not only that, it was for the fact too, the movie in itself wasn't the greatest. Like, even going back and I want to have a Resident Evil day one of these days and just watch all the Resident Evil movies. And going back and thinking about it, the CGI for the zombies, being in a desert, I get it. They're in a desert. The zombies are going to look dry and mummified, but even then, they could have done so much better with it because it was not as up to par as it could have been, but it had its own good aspects of that specific movie.
This film is actually the film that Luna was talking about earlier, called World War Z. Now, World War Z is actually based on a book. I read the book years and years and years before my husband and I actually started seeing each other. And it was one of the books that I brought into our marriage, like a few good graphic novels and books, as you do. And it was one of those books that not everybody had read or heard of. And people who did, it was just like so good to know that other people had read it. And when they were bringing out the movie, I was just like, oh, fuck, yes. Do you know what I mean? So it was just like really, really good. It was really good for, again, cinema for the United Kingdom because they filmed a big chunk of it in Glasgow. They changed the streets to look more American. And it's an iconic scene where he's literally, his wife and him, she's out the car. That is in Glasgow, and when the zombies are literally running at him, that's in Glasgow, in the city centre at George's Square, and everybody again saw the way the whole city centre changed for World War Z, and it was really, really cool to be a part of that. You could actually go up and see it, so that's why I like this movie even more, because you saw everything. I loved the scene, which I was saying before, when they're in Glasgow, and he turns around, he's got his kid in his arms, and he literally just sees everybody like twisting and contorting, and I'm doing it right now. I do not know why, because it's not on cam, but it's like when they start twisting and contorting, like their bodies know that there's something wrong with them, like a convulsion, and they start to change, and he's like, oh shit, what the fuck? Yeah, let's get the fuck out of Dodge here. So there's a mysterious infection that's rampaging through the human race, and it's been sweeping the continent, and Brad Pitt, who plays Jerry Lane, is in search to find a cure or a way for the human race to survive. And through the movie, you see how fast the infection moves and how it actually interacts with everybody's DNA it's amazing how they've actually managed to capture how, from people might not even know when they're infected. That's the thing. It's just a few different things that happen to you. And again, you see that again in Last of Us and things like that. So the way the infected act, how they attack, some of the epic scenes of them as a team working like Legion. That's what I felt like the zombies were very, very like they're communicating somehow. If that sounds weird, but if you understand what Legion is kind of like the Borg. We are one, we are the collective kind of thing. And their interactions, and this isn't about a hero though coming in with a gun and killing everybody. This is basically a person, a specialist, coming in to try and stop and prevent this from continuing and happening again and save the human race or what is left of it and how we can actually move on. And that's what World War Z is about. It's not about heroes and villains, it's about a fucking plague pandemic virus that's literally wiping and sweeping the nation, the continent. Is all over the fucking place, and it seems to be getting faster and faster. So they end up going to some test facility again. I think it's in Scotland as well, because it's got the guy from, it's got Capaldi, which is he was in Doctor Who. He was in a bunch of other movies and
Peter
stuff as well.
Capaldi.
Yeah, he was in World War Z, and he was one of the scientists. He was basically stuck in a tiny wee plate, a tiny like building, trying to basically create something to try and basically save humanity. And that's what I was saying that this film's about. This, like, the continuation of the human race. So because shit has happened, all we can do is prevent this from happening again. And that's what I like about World War Z, because it was more realistic in the fact that it was, this is happening, we need to do something about it. And there's no fucking about. We're literally, that I just went, oh, Kim Dracula there. There's no fucking about. Just, we need to get on top of this. We need to find out how they're getting infected, why they're being infected. Is it because they've got different DNA, what they're made up of? It's like, why is it happening quickly to these people and not these people? And is there something that we can do that maybe we can protect ourselves from becoming one of the infectees and passing it on? And that's what, again, it's good about World War Z, because it isn't about heroes. It's basically about a strategy basically, and how to overcome and prevent this from happening. So this is one of the movies where they probably should have fucking watched, even though we didn't have zombies in our apocalypse, but some people act like zombies even without the apocalypse. I really feel World War Z would be one of those movies that's on that list for the future. How to do things right, not how not to do things. Throwing a gun and weapons at things is not going to make something disappear, because even though when you kill people who are infected in these films, it doesn't matter because they become undead anyway. So unless you remove their head, usually they can still walk about and do damage. So it's how to do things in World War Z, in my honesty. And now we're going on to a film that basically is, it apparently might be getting a sequel that's spelled, it's years. So you probably know what I'm talking about. It's 28 Days, which was out in 2002, which again was a big thing for British film, because again, we did have lots of films out, but there's a few films that have been groundbreaking for British film industry, whether it's writing or directing or production. 28 Days, and then you got 28 Weeks Later, which was out 5 years later in 2007, and they're supposed to be bringing out a sequel apparently. If there's been a push for 28 Years Later, which I thought sounded better, because 28 Days is more of the incubation type thing, and then 28 Weeks Later was them trying to like bring people back into it basically, and then 28 Years Later could be them in the years after the original incubation and infection, and where they are now, and what have they done to actually, get to where they are today to survive. I'm hoping that turns out like that, because that would be really, really good, because again, it's actually a series of movies then, so it's even better for what we are discussing today, and how not to fuck up the universe and how to actually survive it.
Yes, absolutely.
You think it'd be a good idea having 28 Years Later too, don't you?
Rumors about either if it's going to be 28 years or 28 months, just to kind of follow how they've done so far.
Maybe they could do 28 months and then do 28 years. You never know, because there's actually a basis of them doing that. But you never know, they fuck up anyway.
Yeah, just how everything's kind of been set up, 28 days, 28 weeks. It would only kind of make sense for them to do 28 months just because of how they already have it set up, which is basically set up for 28 months. but I love these movies. Second one not so much as the first one, but I still enjoyed it.
Premise was there, but again, you never
Yeah.
know about fluidity. When it's a sequel, they might have not had the same team or the same people with the same passion. It could literally be around a table and they've just literally pulled out a fucking idea out their arse. Do you know what I mean? And we
Yep.
spoke about that plenty. You need fucking story, you need research people, especially if you're going to have a series and a universe and build a universe, you fucking need facts, and you also need story, and you need basically the same people basically giving you the same passion and the same fucking energy as you did in the first movie. Or what's the point in continuing if you're not going to have the same throughout?
Exactly. So this is based around a virus that has been created, which again created for good, usually never for bad. Yet it always ends up leaving the facility as a deal or as an experiment where they infect a few people that have been around the virus and let them, well, be monitored and see how the virus affects them. So basically being studied, but this never goes to plan. And then we get the pandemic zombie apocalypse, which is usually true all the time. So, how did they become infected and how do you prevent it? So, it's the blood and the saliva. So, basically, never touch another human being ever again. Wear a hazmat suit and tape all of your openings, mouth, nose, etc. Don't let any saliva or blood enter you, even if it's safe. What a way to live.
It sounds boring as fuck, doesn't it? That you couldn't do these things.
No eating their victims, just incredibly angry and want to affect as many as they can, but just not eat or play with the carcass. So after everyone has evacuated from London, they start to reintroduce humans back into civilization after 5 years. And was this a good idea? Well, there is a sequel to a post-apocalyptic pandemic outbreak that makes its victims into angry as fuck zombies, and the rage just makes them, well, ragey cagey. And would you want to return to it? Nope, neither would I. Bringing families with young kids, especially when kids never listen, even in the dystopian times, they will go and explore. It's in their nature to do these things. It's part of life, no matter what the time is or how society and the world is. It is human nature to be inquisitive and want to explore things for themselves. People sneaking in to visit family, etc. And you can imagine how this turns out. Not good. Yes, exactly. Think.
And this is, again, sorry, this is another thing that happened during the pandemic. I don't know if you were aware of, but you couldn't go visit your relatives.
I mean, that was
and people
kind of the
rules.
same thing here. We could go visit relatives, but they literally made it to where you couldn't have more than a certain amount of cars at a home.
Do you have a bubble? Do you have that shit over there? Like a bubble? Like you could have like 3 or 4 families. Like my mum stayed too far away and she had a heart condition. And with my health, I couldn't see my mum who only lived like 50 minutes away in a car because I could make her sick. And because my mum was a key worker, my mum was an industrial cleaner, so my mum had to be at work, and she was almost 70 at this point. Do you know what I mean? So she had to basically get on a bus and deal with other people. She couldn't have a bubble because of her job. But we had like maybe our friends over the back were part of our bubble, and our neighbour next door was in the bubble because we would do things for them that. See, because I have obviously my husband is my carer, he could do things that other people couldn't because he was caring for someone with a suppressed immune system, so he could like maybe go to shops when it was less busy, or he could get like delivery slots that were only available for people who were sick. So we used that as our bubble, that we had like maybe 3 or 4 like families or households that were part of our bubble. That's what we had here, but you still had people not following the fucking rules and wondering why people are getting sick and dying. So
yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of did have something similar to it, but not really fully.
It's just different the way it was different the way everybody actually had. I just assumed that everybody had the same rules because everybody was like, all the governments are meeting and talking and stuff about what things are happening. But it seemed to me that America had their rules, we had our rules, Europe had their rules, and obviously like other parts of the world like Asia and Australia and stuff. The UK was still letting people in. dumbass UK were letting everybody in, and no one was like, even, sorry, you guys in America weren't letting folk in for the UK unless you had to be there. Whereas the UK let everybody in, like he didn't give a fuck about, you know, people going on planes and being wherever the fuck they were. They didn't give a fuck, and people were laughing at us. And that if anything's going to happen in the apocalypse, the UK is going to get the brunt of it because they don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Oh, my last paragraph. Robert Carlyle kisses his wife and becomes infected, not knowing she's a carrier. Would you risk it, kissing your significant other, knowing you could become infected and try and, well, take out people now until you are taken out? Carriers don't seem infected, but they just pass it on without getting infected or sick themselves. Again, COVID people.
Again, it's like my husband said to me he couldn't. If he had to like go somewhere and he wasn't allowed to be near me, he would find it incredibly difficult. And I'm not tooting my own horn. My husband, well, he's not here now, but he would say, there's no way someone's keeping me from my wife. There's no way on this planet that you could ever keep me away from her. And that's true, because when, again, the entire time I was in hospital having our son, he was with me. He didn't want to leave me. So, you know, I mean, there's just certain people who he would take the risk, whereas I would be telling him, no, you can't have the risk because, you know, you could infect other people, but he doesn't care. The same with my son. He would pick his family, his parents over, you know, anyone else, even though it could be dangerous. He would still do that because it's just the type of boy he is. So
yeah,
but again, I wouldn't, because it sounds terrible, but I wouldn't want to be apart from my significant other. But the risk, if it was going to be the fact that I could take out someone else that we loved, I would find it incredibly difficult and most likely would end up being killed by my own stupidity or something like that. So that's probably me. The scale of rage for me is the Cage, and it's like, how Nicolas Cage are you today? That's my scale for like when I'm feeling like shit. And I said to you earlier about it, I think I've said it before. There's a video on YouTube called Nicolas Cage Loses His Shit. And when I say that I need to get my Cage scale, it's usually what kind of Nicolas Cage character am I right now? And it's usually the one running about at the start, just going, do you know what I mean? Dragging a cricket bat about and stuff, or just shouting, I'm a vampire, or not the bees. That pretty much, this whole thing just reminds me of basically how my scale of my mood and stuff. So when they're talking about the scale of rage, because again, this is another rage virus. I want to know who names these things, the rage virus, but hey. So this is no different from the rage scale of this movie, depending on how much rage you have endured, depends on what you have been subjected to and how this takes over your infection rate. So no to swimming, they cannot swim, apparently. So if you're infected in this movie, they can't swim. So if you're on an island, you're either stuck with them, kind of like Dead Island, like the start of, is it the second game, I think it is, where you end up going to like a deserted island, and they're already there, because they can't get out off like the island type of thing. If you're on an island and there's no one infected, then you're pretty much, you're all good, aren't you? You can live out your life as normally as you can. So no swimming. Trying to take them out by disabling their mobility slows them down and it doesn't take them out. Light sensitivity, apparently. They eventually kill themselves through starvation, as they don't go out and find nourishment because they're not humans, therefore that's not in their brain to go find food. When you get hungry, it's basically just to kind of infect, and that's it. So their human vessel cannot survive without nourishment, so they die. But they've already taken out as many as they could and infected as many as they possibly can in the process, which is what it's all about, really, isn't it? So realistically, this movie did follow real life, that 28 days wouldn't be long enough to study and create a vaccine/cure, as there wouldn't be enough time, with resources or test subjects, as it was new, and most likely this shit evolves quickly, something in which scientists, as smart as they are, aren't really that smart, as they always forget that viruses evolve and change depending on who's been infected and what their genetic makeup and DNA is. So not enough time or research. Same with the 28 weeks later, you wouldn't be anywhere near a cure. So 28 years later, the movie that people think will help tie up this universe, and maybe they can use the real life aspect of the pandemic that we did go through in 2020, right up until there's still things going on now, where there's different, obviously, strains and the adaptations of the strains. And every Christmas, people get sick, and it's a new COVID strain, and that's what we're literally getting here. In parts of Scotland where certain parts are going to be closed, they're literally looking into maybe closing nightclubs and places that are obviously frequently lots of people in them doing things they probably shouldn't. It's fun, whatever, but they're looking at maybe doing something like that because a lot of people are being affected by another strain of COVID, and there's also a respiratory condition that's happening in China now, and again there's one person that's came to the UK with it. So when I always say it kind of does kind of remind me of Resident Evil, where it's just like, it just shows you everybody being infected. You know, that map that's in movies like that, it just shows you that the world is literally going to end up like this. If it's kind of like in Mission Impossible 2, they do it, where the virus basically is going to destroy the world, and that's what they're showing you what happens. That's what I feel that's basically happening right now in real life, and movies like this have maybe made a lot of us paranoid about it, but it's also maybe woken us up to the fact that this could happen, especially since the pandemic. We might not get zombies, and we might not get people biting you and you becoming infected, but people are getting infected somehow, and this series that we're doing right now is basically based on how not to, and how to maybe overcome, and what steps are best to do, maybe, or just have a wee guidebook of things not to do, including not be a dick. And there's a bunch of other things in there, and the next episode that we're doing, we're going to be discussing the movies that we have picked each, that we think that what would be a good idea, what would be the great strategy from the movies that we've picked that we have actually chosen and spoken about in this series, and also some movies that we may not have spoken about as well, and also any suggestions that you guys might actually have. We also have some questions as well that you can either answer, or me and Luna will actually ask them and most likely answer them. So the first one is, will we have a more intelligent way of surviving this? Well, what's only intelligent is the people, I suppose, that you're dealing with. That's right, isn't it? More about the intelligence of the people that you're working with.
Yep, absolutely.
So, what steps do you think we need to prevent the survival of mankind? Again, don't be a dick. And if shit is happening and something is happening in the world, maybe you should just listen up. Take note.
Be in it for the greed.
What, you think you need to be in it for the greed?
No, don't be in it for the greed.
Right, I never heard the don't. That's why I was just like, shame on you. My first shame of the day. What movies do you think that someone has a secret time machine and know the end is nigh? Again, I think that's like 12 Monkeys for me, because that does talk about time travel and going back to actually reset things and get information to try and prevent it from happening, or try and be in front of what has happened. Because in that film, him getting evidence and getting the information that he was supposed to get before returning, if him having that information from that time would change things, because he actually went back for that reason. So again, when you're going back to the world that you were actually from, things would have changed by then. It might have not happened. And it's like, it's just weird because of the kind of timelines and stuff. And this is where it gets very Marvel-like, in my opinion, with, you know, the timelines and stuff. So what lessons have we learned from this particular episode in Premonitions from the Future? That a lot of disease and infections. Don't be a dick. Are dicks, yeah. Everyone's a phallic shaped object or acts like one. Poor dicks, though, they get such. We should say don't be something else, and don't be a dick. So.
Be an armpit dick.
Exactly. So that's basically learns don't be a dick, and it's not even the strongest will survive. It's literally like survival is the key, and pretty much don't let other people like get in the way of you and your family's survival, and do what's right for you. I would say I would like people to think like that, and then everybody would be doing the same shit, so therefore the world might not end up a fucked up, crazy place like a dystopian future. It's the people in power that want a dystopian fucking future, so it is. It's not everybody else. They think it's a good idea until shit goes wrong, and then V for Vendetta happens and they're fucked. So, will humans continue to be dumb and do things that they know that second guessing yourself as you create it means that it is wrong, and maybe they should leave it the fuck alone? Yes, I don't think that will ever get any better. Definitely not. What would be the advice you give to the future people, or even your future self, after everything we have witnessed over the past few years and everything that we have either thought about, dreamt about, or thought, I should really write this down and remember it? I think, again, we've discussed this plenty. Don't be a dick. And basically, if shit's happening, always be fucking prepared. Always be prepared. And if that means like fucking being a hoarder of shit, medicines, or fucking hoarder of what, medicines, food, and the things in our pandemic that was toilet paper, always toilet paper and hand sanitizer. For the people who weren't buying toilet paper and hand sanitizer before, how were you wiping your ass and washing your fucking hands? Sorry, that annoyed me in the pandemic. There was no toilet paper or hand sanitizers. What the fuck these bastards doing before? What would be the rules you would create to protect yourself? Again, I think I just said it. Don't hog all the fucking toilet paper. Also, if something doesn't look right, maybe don't poke it or like get too close. Maybe just observe. Call for help. I'll be calling for the nearest adult, even though I am one. So I'm like, I need assistance. Always look for the responsible adult in the group and just hang on to them for dear life. Would you survive a dystopian future, or what do you think be an important life lesson to prevent such events from happening? And again, don't start fucking with anything to do with DNA or anything to do with splicing things with other either humans or animals. Entities. Don't create things for the good when it comes to disease, because we've watched that movie. It never fucking works out properly. Take hint, COVID creators. Don't create things that you think are going to be good and they're not. Just think about it. Do you really want to be like Dr. Death? Probably don't want to be going down in the history books as taking out part of the population for something selfish and stupid. But that's just me. Is there anything else you would say? What would you survive dystopian? I think I would probably end up taking others out with me. If I'm going down, they're all going down. As dirty as that sounds, that is how I see it. I'm going to take out as many fuckers as I can to save the world. Yes. As a mentalist, acting like I've got the rage virus when I'm just myself. And I want the virus named after me. No, I want the cure named after me. I want a lot of things. There are a lot of demands.
A lot of demands.
Well, it's me. What are you expecting? I'm nice, but I'm very high maintenance. Even in a pandemic.
I think I'd be able to survive it, just for the simple fact is, I am one of those people that take notes when watching some of these movies that kind of give you a premonition into the future, so that's why.
We have survived one.
Yes.
So, even though we had no zombies and there wasn't a real apocalypse, as I keep saying, we just missed out on all that. We're still an apocalypse of some sort.
Well, I mean, technically, if you figured it, we survived too, because, I mean, you and I have both been around long enough to see Y2K happen.
Oh, that was such a gimmick, though. It was. The people literally thought their computers or technology would stop fucking working. I'm just like,
yep, and everybody started losing their mind.
You call me a dumbass and you call me a crazy conspiracy theorist because of my love of X-Files and the unknown. And you call me a mentalist because I'm saying my computer and my phone are not going to blow up because the date's going to change from 999 to 000. That was got to be the dumbest fucking hysteria ever I think I've ever came across.
It happened in 2000, and how many movies before that time have we happened that happened for the future?
Oh, you mean when they were trying? Yes, I know what you're meaning. I'm just like pissing myself laughing about it because I'm just like, oh god. The simple times, just as technology was actually, it was coming into its element at that point, mobile phones and like the evolution of mobile phones to like camera phones to video phones to media, like social media and things like that. That was all evolving at that time. And then people literally told people not to deal with their phones and technology because it was evil. Yeah. It was just a messed up fucking time that so many people believed that. And so many people actually made money off that. It's for the gullible. Do you know what I mean? It's just.
Oh yeah, it was pointless. It was stupid. It's like, how can you sit there and tell me that my stuff's not going to work anymore? I was 10 years old. I knew better than to believe that shit.
You were 10. Like again, I was 17, and I was just like, again thinking, you said my phone's going to stop working, but you want me to buy this phone instead. How will that not stop working then? No, I think you just want us to fucking stop with the phones we have and then fucking upgrade. That's what that is. That's a fucking con. You con artist, no thank you. I'll keep my fucking brick of a phone that I can actually use as a weapon during the apocalypse. It's that fucking heavy. That's what I'll be keeping. So, if you like the series, remember to like, share, follow, and comment. We love comments. We love people basically letting us know how much they loved our series and how we do our breakdowns and our discussion. Please follow us on social media. Confession of the Darkside has a Instagram, a Twitter, a YouTube, and we have an email address, like we said, that if you ever need to reach out to anybody, which we will be doing our mental health episode next, us on any sort of social media, you can get us on, again, the Confessions from the Dark Side social media platforms, and the email address, which is confessionsfromthedarkside@gmail.com. And that was part 3 of Premonitions from the Future, the dystopian future and apocalypse, any name that you want to name, basically the downfall of humanity and the human race due to man and creation of viruses and infections. So the part 4 will be the discussion and breakdown, like we said. And if that's all, I think that's us for this episode.
Would be us, guys. Yes. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for the awesome support over the platforms as well. We only started, in August time, September time, and it's been really nice seeing so many people follow us and interact online. It's been really, really nice, and can't wait to grow our community. And I'm Darcy Darkman.
And I'm Lunar Rising. Later.